Week 1 of the 21-week study, September 7th, 2025, a study by Fred for the Rebuilders at Prestonwood Baptist Church, From Cross to Crown, the story of Jesus in the Gospel of Mark, entitled Introduction to Mark. Who wrote the book of Mark? Author is not named. The title, according to Mark, was added before 124 AD. Early church tradition, external evidence, attributed it to John Mark. Information in the Gospel itself, internal evidence, identifies the author as John Mark. Who was Mark? He was not an eyewitness follower of Jesus. He accompanied Peter and heard his preaching. He wrote down accurately all that Peter remembered of Jesus' words and works, but not in chronological order. He was Peter's interpreter. He probably explained Peter's teachings to a wider audience by writing it down, rather than translating Peter's Aramaic into Greek or Latin. Mark was familiar with the geography of Palestine, especially Jerusalem. Mark 5:1, 6:53, 8:10, 11:1, 1:33. He knew Aramaic. Mark 5:41, 7:11, 14:36. He understood Jewish institutions and customs. Mark 1:21, 2:14, 16:18, 7:24. He was a Jewish Christian who lived in Jerusalem with Mary, his mother, during the early days of the church. Their home was an early Christian meeting place, Acts 12:12. Peter's calling him my son may mean Mark became a Christian through Peter's influence, 1 Peter 5:13. When was Mark written? Before 70 AD, there is no consensus on whether it was written before Peter's martyrdom, 64-68 AD. Best guess is between 57-59 AD during the early part of Nero's reign, 54-68 AD. What is significant about the book of Mark? Many scholars believe that Mark was the first gospel written, and that Matthew and Luke used it as a primary source document. Matthew incorporates about 90% of Mark and Luke about 40%. Over 600 of Mark's 1661 verses are found in Matthew and Luke combined. Mark's gospel emphasizes Jesus' actions more than his teachings. Mark recorded 18 of Jesus' miracles, but only 4 of his parables. Most of the teaching he did came out of Jesus' controversies with the Jewish religious leaders. His use of Greek is non-literary, close to everyday speech of that time. He repeatedly drew attention to the disciples' lack of understanding and failures. His work is dominated by Jesus' movement toward the cross. Where was it written? Rome. Who was Mark written to? Gentile Roman Christians. Jewish customs explained. Mark 7:3-4, 14:12, 15:42. Aramaic expressions are translated into Greek. Mark 3:17, 5:41, 7:11, 9:43, 10:46. Several Latin terms are used rather than their Greek equivalents. Mark 5:9, 6:27, 12:15, 15:16. The Roman method of reckoning time was used. The tone of the message was appropriate to Roman believers who were encountering persecution. Why was it important that the Gospels were written by the first generation of believers? That question concludes Fred's study week 1 of the 21-week study on September 7th, 2025, for the Rebuilders at Prestonwood Baptist Church, From Cross to Crown, the story of Jesus in the Gospel of Mark, entitled Introduction to Mark.